Everybody, welcome back. Another live stream here on Sunday. What is this? April 13th, 2025. Tax day in 2 days. And your final warning, I guess. That's coming up in 2 days. So if you haven't started your taxes, now might be a good time. We got ours done about a month or so ago, a month and a half ago, and got everything taken care of. But I've got a couple friends that are just starting their taxes now. So if you haven't started or if you forgot completely about it, here's your final warning, I guess. But yeah, happy Sunday, everybody. Nice day here down in Atlanta. Spring is definitely here. The pollen is tamped down. We have nice, cool morning this morning. It's about 40 degrees, which is a little cool for us this time of year, but about 40 degrees, nice and clear. Sunny day. I did a workout this morning on the track, some VO2 max intervals. Very challenging, but definitely worthwhile. So good day for exercising today. And um, oh, there we go. And that's what I wanted to talk about today is getting started exercising. Um, There's been a lot of a lot of people that watch the channel here probably have been exercising for a while, maybe but for decades. But a lot of you maybe are finding the channel, and welcome. Glad to have you here. And maybe you're not exercising currently, or you want to, but you're not sure about how to get started. Maybe you've tried in the past and not had good success with it, so you've got maybe a kind of a negative attitude towards trying it yet again, trying to exercise again and get healthy again. Or maybe you're never really exercised at all through your life, and you're finally at the point where, hey, I want to get healthier. I want to start exercising and start building, that lifelong strength and health that I talk so much about here on the channel. And that's where the goal of the channel is to give information and content that helps you make those decisions and work towards lifelong strength and health. Not just fitness or health for an event coming up in 6 months, but focus more on what can we be doing to stay healthy and strong all the way to the end of our life. Like I say, I want to be a kick-ass 90-year-old. That's kind of my goal. And that's a different type of focus than uh, just um, just training, say, for a 5K or a 10K or a marathon or something like that. So it's a little different focus. The type of exercise you're doing is maybe different when you're taking that multi-decade long-term view. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, give you some ideas, some things to think about, maybe how to approach exercise, maybe hopefully how to get started and actually enjoy it and start seeing the benefits from exercise, which then builds kind of that positive, right? That positive feedback loop that is so powerful for kind of ingraining that habit, whatever it is. Whatever we may do. And if we get positive feedback and we see results and we feel good while we're doing it, chances are that it's going to be a lot easier to make a habit out of whatever that is and have it stick with us for the long term. So that's kind of the goal today. So if any of you are watching live and want to enter any comments, be happy to answer any questions or can interact with you if there's any ideas or suggestions that maybe you have as I'm going through this. Share your successes, things maybe that you've done to help you, or if you have questions about exercising, how to get started, how to approach it, leave them in the chat here while we're live, and definitely leave comments after the fact. And I'll try to reply to as many comments as possible, and hopefully give you some information you can use, and hopefully all of us, everybody else that's making comments, can kind of contribute and kind of keep that conversation going a little bit. So I put together a few little slides talking about some of the kind of the way I think about approaching exercise or starting exercise, and tried to take the view that it's a long-term journey. It's not just for a few months or a year. It's for years, maybe decades. Maybe, maybe you're 40 years old and you want to start exercising. And if you want to do that for lifelong strength and health, you might be looking 30, 40, maybe 50 years. That's the time frame that we're talking about. So I said, well, if we're going to be talking about that, what's a good maybe analogy to relate it to? And so I said, well, how about a trip, right? You're taking a trip, a journey. And, the fitness roadmap, that's kind of how I came up with the channel, was a way to help, as I say, help you navigate, that path to lifelong strength and health. So I'm going to use the analogy of taking a trip. So hopefully it works. Let me know in the comments if you think it's working or not. Okay. But so I put together few slides kind of talking about kind of the different parts of that trip. If you think about, hey, if you're going to be taking a trip, what do you do? How do you approach it? There's kind of that idea, then maybe there's some of the planning, then there's actually leaving and going on the trip or starting the trip, and then there's things that you do while you're on the trip, right? And then hopefully you get back home safe and sound. So that's kind of how I've put it together here. So let me go ahead and start the uh, share the screen here, and I'll flip it around, make it a little bigger. Okay. All right. So put me down. How about if I put me down here? Can I do that? Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about kind of what we're doing here initially. And I start off with things to consider when you're wanting to start an exercise program. So maybe like envisioning the trip, right? You got an idea, say, hey, we'd like to take a trip, right? Just kind of that idea out there. Hey, we'd like to take a trip. Or, hey, I'd like to start exercising. So what are some of the things you want to consider when you're thinking about starting a long-term, lifelong exercise program? First thing I will always say is be realistic with your current health status. Always, always, always get the okay from a doctor or your medical team uh, on whether you are fit enough to be able to start exercising. That may be an issue. Maybe you have a chronic condition, you haven't been exercising for years or decades, and you want to get started. That's great, but you don't want it to end badly right when you're starting. So get the okay from your doctor. Let them know what you are wanting to do. You will probably get very good feedback from the doctor. It's a positive thing to start exercise, but you want to get the okay from your doctor and make sure that everything is good to go. Just don't want to listen to some random guy on the internet like me and start an exercise program, especially if you have not been exercising. You really want to get the okay and make sure that you are in good shape to start that. So that's always the first thing. Okay. The next thing you want to do is check your previous experience with exercise, right? If you're kind of planning a trip, what have we done in the past? What are the other trips that we've taken? What are other trips that we've started? What did we like? What didn't we like? So when it comes to exercise, what's your previous experience with exercise? Have you ever intentionally gone out and tried to exercise on a regular basis or not? Or if you did, what what experiences did you have? Did you enjoy it? Was was it a bad experience for you? Was it a good experience for you? All of that enters into how successful or not you will be with your current exercise habit, hopefully, that you're building. So you want to take into account your previous experiences with exercise. That'll make a difference on how you approach exercise and how it shapes the way that you approach like the exercise and that kind of that long-term view. So take that, be honest with yourself. What did you enjoy about it? What didn't you enjoy about it? Do you have negative thoughts or feelings or experiences? You want to address that and be honest with yourself about that, because it makes it a lot easier to kind of flip the table, change the script, right? That internal script thoughts that you have about in your head about exercise or whatever. If you can change that, makes a big difference and increases the odds of success tremendously. Um, Go back and share the screen. It popped off. Share the screen and we will show this. Okay, so there we go. Flip it around again here. Let's do this. There. Yep. Let's go back. Flip it around. Okay. So there we go. Previous experience with exercise is key. The next thing is that motivation. Okay. What is your motivation for starting exercise? Right? Is it um, something that maybe you've gotten uh, uh, some word, met with your doctor and they said, hey, you really need to start exercising. It's going to, you really need to start doing something. Or maybe it's just purely internal, right? Maybe it's like, hey, it's time for me to start doing this, which is great. You want to make sure that your motivation is realistic, so that you're not setting yourself up for disappointment right from the very beginning. And that happens to a lot of people with exercise and everything else. I mean, you see behind me here, there's a guitar, right? Um, I've been playing guitar, learning guitar for just about 2 years. And I went into it thinking I could learn it faster than I actually am. I enjoy it now, but I had to reset my my motivation was to think maybe that I was going to be able to play very quickly. I'm learning how, and I'm enjoying it, but I had to change. The motivation changed a little bit once I actually got into it and realized, hey, this is pretty hard. Any guitar players out there, let me know. I'm, I'm really enjoying it, and but yeah, motivation. What is your motivation for exercise? Is it long-term health, or maybe it's a lot of people go into exercise with the idea that, hey, I've got a class reunion coming up in the summer, or I'm getting married, or family reunion, or a trip that we're going on, and I want to lose weight and get in shape very quickly so I can look good on this trip or this event. That's a great goal, but make sure it's realistic. Okay. I think the motivation, ideally, in a perfect world, would come for something that would be for, hey, I'm going to do this for me for the rest of my life. That long-term motivation. I think that's usually uh, maybe increases the odds of long-term long-term success. Okay. And that kind of goes to what I have here: realistic goals. Think long term. It's okay to have short-term objectives, but if you are approaching it thinking long term, that, hey, this is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life, all right, I'm going to approach it that way, that that changes how you approach it, right? If you've got years or decades to do it, then you've got time to make adjustments and to start slowly and do it right. You don't feel the immediate need to dramatically change your body or your health, overnight or in 30 days. You've probably see all that stuff, on TV, social media, YouTube, Instagram, all 30 days to six pack abs, or lose 50 pounds in 50 days or whatever. It's very short term, and most of the time it doesn't work out. It's something to kind of uh, uh, get to that, because we tend to think short term. So if they can appeal to that short term, get an immediate benefit, that's what kind of hooks you. But it's really a long term. So think long term and plan long term. Things generally work out pretty good as a result of that. Okay. So we kind of got the motivation covered, right? You want to make sure that you get the okay from your doctor, and you've got kind of the right motivation, and you've got a long-term view. Then the next thing is finding the best exercises for you. Everybody's different. Everybody has different abilities, time, motivations, access to resources. All of that makes a difference. So this is kind of like planning the trip, right? If you decide you want to take a trip, okay, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Are we going to go by plane? Are we going to go by car? Are we going to go by train? Are we going to bike? We're going to walk, whatever. You want to plan a trip. You want to kind of nail down some of the specifics. So with exercise, you want to find exercises that make sense for you and are easy for you to do and get started with, especially at the beginning, because what we're trying to do is to build that habit, or maybe change a habit that you've had for years and years, or maybe decades of, I don't like exercise. Last time I tried it, it was painful, and I didn't enjoy it. We want to try to change that, and it makes it a lot easier to change if you do something that you actually enjoy. So that's kind of the first point: is do what you enjoy. You don't have to go from not exercising or hating exercise to training for a marathon. I see that a lot. People are like, oh, if you want to get in shape, why don't you do this, couch to 5K program? Or why don't you train to run a marathon? That's a great goal, but what if you don't like to run? Okay. It's a big thing. A lot of people don't like to run. My wife is example. She's changing a little bit, but her initial thing to running is, unfortunately for her, she was an athlete in high school. She was basketball and softball, and running was a punishment. You would run if you didn't do something right. So she sees it as a punishment. A lot of people see it as punishment. So maybe you don't enjoy running. You don't have to run in order to exercise. So pick something you enjoy. It could be as simple as going for a walk, gardening, dancing, golf. All of those count. You want to start with something you enjoy. That's going to make it a lot easier to continue and build that positive habit over the long term. Okay. Next thing is, does it match your abilities? Maybe something you enjoy, but is it something you're actually able to do? Or do you have the ability to do that without having to teach yourself a brand new activity right at the beginning? So for me, a lot of people love swimming. It's a great activity, a great exercise. It's low impact. You can do great cardio, does some strength and flexibility along there. It's a great way to get started. I can swim. I've done a lot of swimming in my life, but I'm not really good at it. And I don't really feel like I want to learn to get good at it. So swimming is not, doesn't really match my abilities. Now, for me, I've always enjoyed running. So running was something that I went to uh, very easily. I've always enjoyed running. I never saw it as punishment. It just kind of fit my body, my personality. So that was something that matched my abilities. Especially at the beginning, I think it makes sense to start off with something that you enjoy that actually matches your abilities. So you're not struggling to build the habit of exercise while also learning something brand new. You can do that later. I think that's perfectly fine. But at the beginning, start with something that's kind of innate to you, right? Something that is you enjoy and kind of matches your current abilities. And next thing, are there any barriers to entry to particular exercises? Maybe you are, um, uh, in a situation where you don't have access to, maybe you like to swim, but you don't have access to a pool. Okay, that might be a barrier to entry, right? If you can't get to a pool, it's kind of hard to swim. Or maybe you are on a very strict budget and somebody says, hey, you should get into road cycling, right? It's a great activity, but is there a little bit of cost involved to get the equipment and get started? So make sure that you can remove as many of those barriers to entry as possible. Once again, you want to eliminate as much friction as possible. And if there's a high barrier to entry, maybe it's time, distance, cost, that type of thing. If you can remove that, especially at the beginning, that's going to make it a much better overall experience for you. Okay. Next thing is available time. How much time do you have to devote to exercise, especially at the beginning? That's one of the big reasons that people don't exercise is because of time. They say, I'm too busy, work and family takes up all my available time. I don't have time to train for a marathon. I don't have time to exercise. I'm just too busy. So be realistic. How much time do you have available right now at the beginning of the journey? How much time do you have available now? And what can you do to exercise in that available time? Probably what will happen is if you do something that you enjoy and you get going with it and you build a habit, all of a sudden, for most people, there's more available time. Why is that? Because your priorities change. You actually are doing something you enjoy. So you're like, hey, I can dedicate a little bit more time to this. Maybe I do more time exercising and less time watching Netflix or doom scrolling on the phone, whatever it is. As you find something you enjoy doing and you start seeing benefits, oftentimes time becomes available. But start with something that be realistic on how much time you have available to get going at the beginning. All right. So when you're doing a trip, you're planning your trip. Next part is what are the must-see attractions? What are the things you want to be doing on your trip? So if you're taking a car trip, let's say you're going across country, and I've done this, either with family as a kid, and I've done it a lot as adults driving from, East Coast to the Rocky Mountains or that type of thing. Well, there's always things to see along the way. For instance, if any of you have ever gone, up, is it I-69 up through Illinois? You've kind of crossed over from, you go from Nashville to Chicago, something like that. Have any of you ever stopped at Metropolis, Illinois? They have a giant Superman statue. Who knew? So the town is Metropolis, Illinois. It's right on the border, right on the river there, right on the Mississippi River, I guess it is. Yeah. And if you go off the exit on the road, you go down 3 or 4 miles, you get to downtown Metropolis, and there, by golly, is a 40-foot tall um, Superman statue. I've got a picture on my phone. My wife and I did that detour one year as we were driving back and forth between Atlanta and Chicago, visiting friends. And we stopped and we saw, so there's must-see attractions, things you want to see. So when you're thinking about exercise and you're building your exercise program, what are the things that you want to have as part of that program? And I've talked about this on the channel. I'm going to continue to talk about it. There's a few components. First is exercising the aerobic system, so your heart, your lungs, your circulatory system. So think of that as aerobic, zone 2, and VO2 max. Kind of that zone 2, which builds the mitochondria and builds that wide base of your aerobic fitness, and then the VO2 max that builds that peak efficiency, maximum oxygen processing. Those two are the key things. So build your program around doing that. The next thing is strength, something that I ignored for the first 56 years of my life, really, was any strength training. I was always aerobic. I was always running or cycling. I loved doing that. I ignored the strength. And I paid a little bit of a price, but in the last few years, I've focused on strength and I've made big gains in my strength. I'm still not a big guy, but I've added, I don't know, 10, almost 15 pounds of muscle over the last 3 years. I'm stronger than I've ever been in my life. And the result of that is that my body is just stronger overall. That's going to help me as I go into uh, later the last half of my life. Right, I'm 60 now, so maybe the last third of my life. Right, if I can make it for the next 30 years, the strength that I have now will help carry me through there and hopefully be strong all the way up until the end. So aerobic, then strength. Next thing is mobility and stability. I think any exercise program should have mobility and stability work in it. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about, maybe general flexibility, but more about balance and uh, power, speed. Think of things like if you are walking and you catch your toe on a curb and you kind of trip and you don't fall, and that's because very quickly you've moved your leg you've planted your foot, you've reoriented yourself, and you catch yourself and you don't fall. If you don't train that, especially as you get older, that's going to be an issue. You might find yourself as a 70-year-old, 75-year-old having the same thing. If you don't have the strength or the mobility and stability, you fall, hit the ground, maybe break a bone, and that's not good. So mobility and stability should be part of your program now. And that's not necessarily stretching. It's about exercise and kind of the range of motion of your joints and strength. So think of things like maybe some jumping, range of motion exercises that keep your joints, your shoulder, right, your main joints, your shoulders, your hips, your knees, your ankles, keep them flexible and pliable, and combine that with the strength and some balance, and you put yourself on a good solid footing to make it through life. Next is rest and recovery. This is a part of it that a lot of people ignore, especially as they get more and more into exercising. They, oh, I can't rest. I got another workout that I have to do tomorrow. Or, rest is for the weak. We got to keep training. Well, you can get away with that when you're younger. But as you get older, you want to make sure that you're giving your body time to uh, integrate and get the benefits of the work that you did previously. And one of the best ways to do that is make sure that you're giving your body time to recover and getting the rest that you need. In other words, good quality sleep, mixing in harder workouts with easier workouts, days off, that type of thing. That's kind of the icing on the cake. If you add rest and recovery and focus on that in addition to doing aerobic strength and mobility, you've kind of got the whole package there. So those are kind of the things you want to be building your program on. And you don't need to do all of them at the very beginning. Maybe you start off with something that you enjoy. So maybe for some of you, you've been lifting for your entire life and you want to get back into it. That's something you enjoy. And we'll start with the strength. Then you can add in probably the mobility and stability. That's pretty easy. And then start adding in the zone 2 training. Get used to the cardio, right? The aerobic. And once you've got a good base of that, then start adding in some VO2 max. And then make sure you're resting and recovering. On the other end, me, as an aerobic or endurance athlete, that's the way I'm built. That's what I enjoy. It's very easy for me to get back into exercise or do exercise when it's aerobic. For me, I really have to work. Now I'm in the habit, but a few years ago when I really made that change and focused on strength, I had to really concentrate on being consistent with the strength training, get past that initial period, and now I really enjoy it. I would miss it greatly if I couldn't do it anymore. So start with what you're comfortable with, build that base habit, and then add in the other pieces. Okay. I lost the share again. Yeah. There. Okay. Let's go ahead and hopefully share this. Okay, I'm going to flip it again. So this is what I was just talking about. Okay, building the program, aerobic, strength, mobility, stability, and then rest and recovery. Okay. The next thing is getting started. Okay, so you planned your track, what you're going to do. Now you start the trip. You're actually going to start this journey of exercise. Okay, the trip is beginning. This long, decades long, hopefully, lifelong journey of exercise and strength and that kind of lifestyle change. The trip begins. Okay, first thing you want to be doing when you start working out, especially as you get older. So anybody over probably 30 really needs to be paying attention to this. And this is something I didn't do for a while, and I paid the price a few years ago, is warm up and cool down. You need to give your body time to get ready for the activity. And then when you are done, give your body time to kind of cool down and go. So if you're going for a walk, all right, your warm up might be just something simple like before you actually go out and start walking, maybe just swing your legs a little bit, get your hips moving, your knee joint moving a little bit. Maybe just loosen up, get going. It's pretty easy for walking, but limber up the body a little bit. Go out for your walk, and then when you get done, maybe you do some light stretching, maybe some yoga or very light stretching, that type of thing. Cool down. If you're doing a more intense workout, like I did today, I did some VO2 max intervals. I did it running on the track. I took about 20 minutes before I actually started the workout warming up. So I do stuff like some static movements, or not static movements, things like hip bridges, some uh, uh, what are called fire hydrants, some bridges, stuff to kind of start activating the muscles. All right, so the glutes, legs, feet. I did some skipping, which kind of gets the heart rate going a little bit. Then I did a light jog, an easy run for maybe 7-10 minutes, and then I did some strides. So a little, not sprints, but just a little faster, just to kind of get the heart rate up. And then I did my workout. And when I got done with the workout, I kind of reversed the process. I did a slow jog for, it was about 5 or 6 minutes. Then I did some stretching and just gave my body, make sure it hydrated and then cooled down. But you want to make sure you're warming up and cooling down. It's going to get your body prepared for the work and then give it time to start that recovery process. Okay. Next is when you're starting out, especially if you have not exercised for a while, you'll want to take it slow and steady. You don't need to jump into doing very intense sessions quickly. In fact, you don't want to do that at all, because what's probably going to happen is your body's not used to it. So um, commonly what happens is you're going to get sore. It's going to be painful. There's always a little discomfort when you start a new thing, but if you really go at it hard, you're going to be so sore that you can't walk for days. And that's not fun. And what do most people do when that happens? They're like, this sucks. It hurts. Why? I don't want to hurt all the time. So they stop. So you want to take your time, work into it. Start easy. It's not a sprint. It's a long-term process. So take the time to kind of ease into it. Okay, don't go in full bore. All right. I talked to a lot of people, seen a lot of people over the years that say, I haven't been doing anything for years, and I'm gonna run a 5K in 3 weeks. So they go up and they start training, they start running right away. They don't do any warm up, cool down. The first 2 weeks, they're stiff and sore. And then the race comes in 3 weeks and they're barely able to move because and they're burned out already because they've just been too intense. So take your time, enjoy the process as much as possible. Don't push it. Don't, uh, don't do more than you feel comfortable doing until you feel comfortable doing it, if that makes sense. As you start exercising and you start regular movement, moving on a regular basis, maybe you have some sort of structured program. It doesn't have to be fancy, but just saying, I'm going to walk 30 minutes every day. Well, once you do that, you get into it, you'll feel your body getting used to it. And then you can start maybe saying, okay, I'm going to walk 30 minutes, but I'm also going to do 5 minutes in the middle, maybe where I pick up the pace, or something like that. Take your time, slow and steady, but don't push it, especially at the beginning. Give your body and your mind and your habit time to form. Okay. Pause and adjust if needed. Now, this comes down to, if something isn't working, you're not enjoying it anymore. Maybe maybe you're getting a little niggle, something's bugging you a little bit, not an injury, but something bugging you. Take some time off, reassess, maybe talk to if it's a little bit of pain or something like that, talk to a medical professional or a sports physical therapist, figure out what it is, and then adjust, reset, and start off again. Once again, this is a long-term process. We've got years and decades. So if we need to take a little bit of a break to dial things in, that's fine. Perfectly fine. No problem at all. And the last one on this part is remain flexible. be willing to make changes. Maybe you start off doing one activity and it's great, but then something changes in your life. You move to a new location, your job changes, your commute changes, family life changes, and whatever you were doing doesn't work as well with your current life situation. Be flexible enough to say, okay, well, what else can I do? Make a change. It might be temporary, it might need to be long term. A lot of times what happens is people will have short term periods where life is just too crazy or something is out of out of whack for a short term. Maybe you're traveling a lot for work or you've got some family business that you need to attend to. That's fine. Remain flexible. Don't beat yourself up because you missed, you haven't exercised for a week or two. That's fine. Get back into it as soon as you can, but be flexible enough to give yourself some freedom to adapt to life. We all have to live life. We can't exercise 24/7. We're not in a position where that's all we have to worry about. Most of us have to worry about a bunch of other stuff too. So it's a balancing act. So be flexible. Don't beat yourself up if you have to make some changes. Okay. Now, this last part, I say staying in the game. In other words, getting home safe from your trip. Once again, this is long term. You're hopefully going to be exercising for the rest of your life. So you want to do what you can to make sure that you can keep exercising for the rest of your life. And first, and that is don't get injured. Now, this is something that, maybe can't guarantee that you're not going to get injured if you're exercising. There's always that chance, but don't do anything stupid. Don't, if you're a weightlifter, you've been weightlifting for, 3 months and you go to the gym and somebody says, hey, yo, bro, what can you bench? And you're like, oh, I'll show them. I'm going to go for a 1 rep max. I'm going to get a PR here in the gym, and you haven't warmed up, or you're really not prepared for it. You could seriously injure yourself or, even kill yourself, right? If you lose control of the weight and it falls on you, or you could tear, do what you can, approach it smartly so you don't get injured. Obviously, there's the initial pain and problems that happen with injury, but also what it does is it takes you out of the game, right? It takes you out of the ability to be exercising. Okay. I said be flexible. You don't want to be flexible because you're injured. Okay. You don't want that to be one of the reasons, hopefully. But injuries do happen. I've been injured a couple times in the last few years, and I think it's more a result of age. As we get older, kind of goes back to that rest and recovery. Our bodies take longer to recover between workouts. So and if you're not giving your body the rest and the recovery that it needs, and you're approaching things too aggressively, ramping up your effort too much, your chances of getting injured increase, especially as you get older. And in my case, that injury a couple years ago was a hip adductor strain. Um, I was, I was able to do stuff, but I was limited in what I can do for maybe 4 or 5 months. And recently, I don't know how I did it. And I did a video about it a couple months ago, runner's knee and tennis elbow. Um, Tennis elbow I'm still dealing with that. I'm able to do 90% of what I could do, but it's been 4 months. I've been able to change my my workout routine. I haven't really lost anything, but it's been an inconvenience for sure. So anything you can do to avoid injury is key, especially as you get older. Injuries just take longer to heal and recover from. So don't get injured. That's kind of the first rule. Okay. Take a long-term view. Once again, doesn't matter what happens in a particular day or week or month. What we're looking at is making sure that we can still be doing this, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. That's the goal, a long-term view. So we have really high odds of having lifelong strength and health. So take a long-term view. That makes things a lot easier. Do whatever you can to make exercise part of your life on a weekly or daily basis. Now, when you're starting out, it's not part of your life because you have not been doing it. It might take some time to make it part of your life as you build the habit and you start building some fitness and strength and getting healthier as a result. You start seeing the benefits, then it's easier to add more of it to your life on a regular basis. That's the goal. You want to make it part of who you are as a person. Hey, I am Mark, but I exercise. I do what I can to keep myself healthy, and that's part of who I am. You want to get to that point. That doesn't mean that you have to be competitive and train for marathons or CrossFit games or whatever. No, it's just make it part of your life as part of what you do on a daily basis, part of the routine. It's kind of like sleep, right? If you didn't sleep, you'd notice it. Well, it can be the same thing if you don't exercise. If it's part of your life and you're not exercising, then you'll notice it. And that is, oh, yeah. Um, so you want to make it part of your life. Okay. That is key. And if you can do that, then the odds of continuing it and doing it for long term are going to be much, much higher. Increase effort over time. It kind of goes back to don't rush it and the other one. You're going to get to the point once you start exercising on a regular basis, whatever exercise you're doing, where a given amount of effort isn't going to get you the results that it got you uh, at an earlier point in time. So you do have to increase the effort. It's going to, everybody's different depending on the exercise you're doing, what you're doing. That's going to be a different amount of time, but over time you will need to increase the effort. My wife has been doing a lot of Zone 2 the last year or two, and she's been doing VO2 Max. Now she does almost all of that on Zwift on a trainer. And we were going through and looking at that. Was it last month, I guess? Yeah, kind of looking at how she's progressed. And she's like, oh, yeah, I've had to increase the resistance to get the same effect than what it was 6 months ago. So it's going to be a steady increase. Just realize that that's part of it. So for me, lifting, I've had to increase the weight or the number of reps that I'm doing on an exercise in order to get the benefits. That's what you want, but you don't need to increase it dramatically. It's gonna you'll once again you'll kind of know, all right, but you do want steady progression, and that'll help you stay ahead of old age to a certain extent. If you're always increasing the effort and giving your body just a little bit more to adapt to, that's going to increase your health and fitness over time. And the other one is the last one I think here is take occasional pit stops. Right, take time off. A lot of people will recommend maybe taking a week off every couple of months, maybe every 5 to 10 weeks. Some people take a month off every 6 months, but take time off to kind of give your body time to reset, kind of deload from the stresses of exercising, and just uh, to kind of reset your brain with exercise as well. Take those occasional longer term breaks, maybe not just one day, but maybe a week or two. That gives your body, especially if you've gone through a period where you've just recently increased your effort, maybe you had to increase the weights or the amount of effort that you're doing on the treadmill or on the bike or running or whatever, rucking, whatever it is. Take some time off. Give your body time to kind of reset and then start back at it. You will find that over the long term, the progress from doing that is better than just never stopping. There's people that do exercise streaks. I've exercised every day for the last 38 years. Great, but maybe you might be better off if you had taken a little bit of time off occasionally in that process. Everybody's different, but I found that I think taking those occasional breaks is generally a good thing. So that is it for my spiel on getting started with exercise. I hope it's helpful. If there are any comments or anything that you've found helpful, or positive or negative. Leave them in the comments below here after this post. Share your story. Right? How has exercise gone for you? Did you start late in life? Have you always been exercising? Whatever it is, share your comments down below, and help others as they're kind of going through the process of maybe starting exercise for the first time or picking it up after a long break. And that brings me to kind of the final thing here today is that if you want somebody to bounce ideas off of, ask questions, get get a second opinion on maybe what you're thinking about as it relates to starting exercise, I have opened up the ability for you to schedule what I'm calling an exercise strategy session call. The link is in the description. You'll click that link. You'll get a calendar that pulls up. You can pick a date and available time that works for you. I've got it set at 45 minutes. So just a conversation. We typically go through probably like Google Meet, or we could do Zoom, but just a way for you to ask questions about exercise. How maybe should you be approaching it? I've been exercising for 45 years at this point, so I've done a lot. I've had positive and negative experiences, things that have worked, things that haven't worked, and I've learned from all of those. And love to be able to share those experiences with you and help you start that process for yourself as well. So check the link in the description below. You can book a exercise strategy session call. We'll have the call, and then I'll give you a follow-up email after the call with maybe some additional tips, maybe resources. Maybe you're stuck on trying to, what equipment should you get for your exercise, to get started with exercise. I'll be able to give you some ideas and suggestions on that. So I'll send you a follow-up email after the call with some additional resources, tips, and information to kind of help you get started on your exercise journey. So if you're interested in that, check the link in the description below. And that's all I've got today. What is it? Yeah, almost 5 o'clock here. I'm gonna wrap up the weekend. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. And thanks for watching. Leave your comments down below. And until next time, take care. Enjoy the journey, and be well.